Hello, my friends. Hello. Welcome to the live stream. I love that so many of you are already saying hello to each other and to us. Hi, Dale. Hi, Guillaume. Hi, Jana. Love that you're here. Carrie is here. Hello, Carrie.
Hey, Rachel. We were just talking before we went live. Today's topic must be like a juicy one for you guys because the gang is all here, not just like on time, but early. So already respecting boundaries. So pretty awesome.
Yeah, so speaking of that, if you have a question about boundaries, let us know in the chat or in the comments if you're watching this on replay. And yeah, this topic is at a great time for all of us. Boundaries, some people think boundaries is about like holding other people's behavior to a certain standard. But really, boundaries is about holding our own standard and basically creating a line of where we allow people and not allow people to cross into our own zone. What we define for ourselves as, what we want to do, not do, how to live our own values, but also what we are willing and not willing to have in our own space too. So lots and lots and lots of things to talk about here. I think the main thing is we all understand that we know when our boundaries are crossed because we will feel uncomfortable or angry. And I think the beautiful thing is if we can understand what we want our boundaries to be, then we don't need to put ourselves in a position where they're constantly being crossed, right? We can uphold our boundaries and put some actual like energy in our space to create our own comfort zone that people can then bounce off of instead of constantly coming in and out because we haven't done the job of preparing ourselves. So that's just a jumping off point. If you have anything more you want to ask about, let us know. And yeah, happy to be here with you all. As you know, I'm Rachel Archelaus, founder of the Intuitive Art Academy and the Daily Alignment Show, and Carrie Roldan is your business BFF. Hello. And we're working on a lot of stuff behind the scenes for you right now.
We really are.
Mm-hmm.
We come onto these calls right off of a meeting with each other in Intimate Alien, and I'm loving the vibe of doing that. And it like I feel like so excited, a little secrety as we move through in a really, really good way. Like I can't wait for you guys to see and experience what we will be rolling out. But boundaries, people, boundaries. We'll let you know when the time is right. I want to share about what you said about boundaries being internal, right? Recognizing for me, and I know Jana will appreciate this, and my projector self. I know when I have let a boundary become kind of like diffuse or like not well defined, when I feel resentful, right? When I may actually have expressed or verbalized, hey, this is a boundary for me, but I've allowed some sort of convincing or justifying, or this is how like me. So I would always say that I'm violating my own boundaries. Like there are definitely people in my life who are boundary busters, for sure. There are people in my life who, you say no, or I'd prefer. And I feel like when someone starts to try and convince, they are violating my boundary or pushing back, right? But ultimately, it's if I allow myself to be convinced, or if I maybe feel like I'm acquiescing, and then I do something or behave in a way that like makes me feel resentful, right? So I just want to establish first, like I want to take responsibility for my own boundaries. It could be easy to look at other people, and I mean it's way easier for me to like point my finger at other people than it is to look at myself. But I do want to start there, right? Like it's oftentimes, I want to say every time, but I'll say oftentimes, when I feel that my boundaries have been violated, I want to be mad at the other person, but at the end of the day, it was me who allowed that to happen. Um, and sometimes I have a hard time knowing exactly what it is, because when I say it out loud, or like when I talk it out, I'm like, I mean, that's not that big of a deal, or it's not that hard, or like I'll go to like at the end of the day, I don't want to cause a big stink, or I'll like have those sort of things come out of my mouth, and logically, it isn't that big of a deal, and yet internally, it's a huge boundary. So I don't know if I've ever used this example on the show, but I'm going to use it now, which one of my big boundaries that took me a while to figure out was that I don't always want to host. So when my husband and I were like newly married and had little kids, he would always say like, "Hey, I invited so and so over." And I didn't know why it made me so angry. Like logically, I was like, yeah, I love them. I want to hang out with them. And then after a while, I would start to get angry and resentful. And so he was like thinking I was angry and resentful because he was expecting me to make food, or he was expecting me to clean the house, or like whatever those things were. And so he would then say, "Hey, I invited people over and I've already handled the food, and don't worry about it." Like he was trying so hard to like make it easier for me. And it took me, I'm talking like years, because I was like, what is wrong with me? Why don't I? It doesn't matter. I just recognize like, oh, I have a boundary there. I don't want to host because I want to be able to leave. I want to, like, my boundary is ask me first. Like, don't just invite, ask me first, because sometimes I'm happy to host. And other times you've got to be freaking kidding me. No. And so I recognized the boundary it was one about being asked. Like, I think he thought, oh, she loves them. It'll be great. We have the opportunity. And the second one was recognizing like sometimes I just need my house to be my sanctuary. And the only way that you're going to know when that time is if you ask me, because there's no rules to that. So I don't know. That's a way to talk about an internal boundary, right? One that like, sometimes it's a yes, sometimes it's a no. It kind of depends on how I'm feeling on the inside.
Yeah, because when you break it down, a boundary is just allowing yourself to live in alignment with your own truth, right? And so that's why Carrie's truth was, sometimes I do want people over and sometimes I don't. And so, yeah, it can feel really irrational because it can change, and because it can be such a minor detail that we don't think it's worth talking about or making a big deal about. Like, I have a pretty solid boundary around, I don't watch violence. I don't watch sexual assault. I don't watch scary things. I just don't, if I'm watching something, I want it to make me feel good. Right. And so my poor boyfriend who loves watching all kinds of things, over the years, he's known like if we're going to watch something together, it's got to be like something I would watch, but he can watch whatever he wants on his own. And if I wasn't aware that it was an internal shift that I was having, I could have gotten mad for all kinds of different reasons, right? So it's also not a big deal, right? Some people, like a lot of couples, watch TV together after dinner for a while. And if one of them wants to change that, that could be a little disruptive, right? You would think, oh no, he's going to be upset. Oh no, I can't change the status quo. But really, when you are choosing your own alignment, when you are choosing your own internal boundary, it is going to work out, because your alignment also is the best thing for everyone else, right? It's better for me to be in a good mood, to be happy, to be doing something I want to be doing, than to be miserable sitting next to someone on a couch for 2 hours, right? So I think we blow up in our minds the the consequences of maintaining our own boundaries, when really it's not a big deal. I know Dale had a question. How to keep boundaries minus irritation toward others. So this is the thing. All right. Boundaries are about us. It's about staying in alignment with ourselves, right? When I was just telling Carrie this the other day, I sometimes get overstimulated when we're out and about, when we're at stores, or if there's a lot going on. And I will sometimes need to take myself out of the, weekend routine that Eric and I have, which he finds really sacred. Like, he loves routine. He loves that we do the same thing every day. And so I do feel disruptive having to take myself out of that. I do feel like it would be a big deal. But when I started just allowing myself to do it and say, you know what, I don't say this, but I get to the point where I cannot hear anyone else talk. I have to go be by myself. And so when I just started doing that, not a big deal, right? When we honor ourselves, we're not going to find the amount of kickback we think we are going to find. So how do you keep your boundaries minus irritation toward others? Is you just keep your boundary. If you keep your boundary, you're not going to find that others irritate you. If I didn't keep my boundary and I stayed down in the kitchen and Eric was talking to me and I was overstimulated, I would snap, I would cry, I would get really upset and dysregulated. And in order to not have the irritation, I know that I need to take care of myself. I need to get out of that situation. And sometimes maybe you're not putting yourself in this situation in the first place, right? Like, we really only have the irritation or the resentment when we're doing something out of our own boundaries. Does that make Carrie's nodding?
Yeah. So like, I'm thinking of an example about, and it could be the person who the boundary buster who you're dealing with, right? So I'm just going to use my husband again. Right. Because it's often, right, people who you've been in patterns with for a long time. And maybe that pattern is something you were never comfortable with. Maybe it was something you were comfortable with for a while, like Rachel, right? And the watching violence. And then suddenly, maybe not so suddenly, but over time recognizing, hey, this never makes me feel good. I don't want to do this anymore. So, with me, there were just some things that we did because I sort of felt like this is what you do when you're in a couple, right? And at some point I recognized, oh my God, this is the rest of my life, right? If I don't like lay down my boundaries here internally, if I don't honor myself in these situations, like, I'm going to be resentful a lot of the time. And initially, when I started to change things up, so this is like, my husband likes to socialize with the neighbors. And not that I don't like to socialize with the neighbors, just not as often as he does. Like, he'll see someone outside and be like, hey, I'm going over. Like, it's our neighbors, lots of our neighbors have like front yard fire pits. And so they'll be out and like things sort of always lead to like a party. And, people see like, oh, there's a couple of people over, and then everyone goes over, especially in like the springtime and summer. And that can be really depleting for me. And so this is a situation where if I go to be a nice person, to be a good neighbor, because my husband's like, come on, it's weird that I have to go without you. Like, people are going to think you don't like them, right? Which has been said to me. If I let that convince me, then I'm not honoring my boundaries and nobody's happy in the long run. But if I just say, I'm just not feeling it today, tell everyone I said hi, I don't hate them, I just need some time alone. Well, the first time, maybe he felt awkward. The second time, maybe he felt awkward. But now everybody just knows. And when I'm there, they're like, she's here. Yay. And when I'm not there, I don't know if they're talking crap behind my back, but I don't care because I'm happier, because I'm honoring my boundaries. So that's the answer to the first part of your question, right? It's just, if you're feeling irritated at other people, it's because you're not honoring your boundaries. There may be, although to be fair, right, there was probably minor irritation with my husband in the beginning because he was irritated with me. I was honoring my boundary and I was mad at him that he didn't understand that, But if you just keep honoring yourself, other people get it. Like they move on. Second part, Rachel, what to do when asking feels like complaining. I think that's what she's saying. So I have a whole rant on being asked, but I'm not going to go there right now. So I think she's asking, like, I think she might be saying, I feel like a nag. Dale, let us know.
You know, I'm going to say that I am still learning how to be a good interdependent person. Okay, so I've often had to ask Carrie, like, is it can I ask Eric about this? Like, can I say this to him? You know, like, I try now to be more communicative about what I want in a relationship. But you won't need to ask very often, or you won't. And even when I was asking, I was really just saying, I am uncomfortable. You know, this is my boundary, and letting them decide how they want to respond to that. Right. So I think why sometimes asking feels like complaining is because you are complaining and you are trying to change someone. So that's really where the difference is. Boundaries are about us and our decisions and our actions and what we are willing to tolerate and not tolerate. And that's totally fine. You can tolerate and not tolerate whatever you choose. That is up to you. But when we try to change others in order to feel better, that's where we get into a really sticky situation, because that it doesn't usually work. It usually creates resentment on their part. But like I said, you know, if we're living together, it's going to come up, it's going to happen. And you just need to know that usually it's 99.999% about you, and teaching people how to treat you and aligning to the person that you want to be, so that only the good things can show up for you, and seeing the best in the other person. So that's the version that's showing up to you. So I'm going to say 99.9% of the time, we won't need to ask if we're doing our part. But of course, we're not always doing our part. We're living with people who are triggering us, and we're being triggered, and we're doing, you know, so do the best you can with this, but try to screen yourself first. Am I coming to this person unnecessarily? Can I do more of the work on my own before I bring it up with them? If I feel like I'm going to be complaining, is it worth it, or can I do something else first? That is the advice I would give to you about that, but Carrie might have more to say. You're muted. Also, hi, Laura.
Oh, hey. Okay, you guys. I went on a lengthy rant to Rachel this week about myself being asked, that I have a boundary about being asked. And I saw this thing on TikTok a while ago that was like so illuminating for me. And I'm going to butcher it here. So I keep hoping if I talk about it enough, it'll show up in my feed again. But it is that some people, when they're asking, they're just asking. Like, hey, Rachel, will you take out the trash? And if Rachel's like, no, I don't want to do that, they're like, okay, I'll do it. Right? That is one way that some people experience asking. Other people experience asking when I say, hey, Rachel, will you take out the trash? Rachel experiences that as like me saying, Rachel, take out the damn trash. And like, right. And it doesn't feel good. And so I am one of those people who an ask feels like, or for instance, why is there butter on the floor? Like the response should be, oh, because I dropped the butter knife or whatever, right? But I am someone who, if someone says, why is there butter on the floor? I hear, why didn't you clean up the butter? Or like, I see butter on the floor. That's not okay with me. Clean it up, right? I hear an ask as a demand. So I'm saying this because asking is not a useful strategy when dealing with someone like me. Or the way you ask matters a lot. So if you feel like, oh, I might be a person who, when I'm asking, I'm genuinely asking, Carrie, will you take out the trash? And it's totally appropriate for you to say no. But chances are, if you feel like you're asking equals complaining, you're someone who's, and I'm just using household things. You're wandering around the house going, why is there socks on the floor? Why am I the only one who cares about this? Can you please just take out the trash every once in a while? Right? Like, and, or you feel like I don't want to have to ask. And if that's the case, my suggestion is don't ask. Give it another 30 seconds. Give it another minute, hour, however long, and then decide, is it important to me that someone else does this? Because what I found is generally it's just important that it happens, and you can totally be the person that gets it done. And if it's something where you're feeling like, hey, I'm in a situation where I feel like I'm doing 90% of the household chores, and when I walk by the trash can and I see that it's overflowing or it smells bad, I actually take that really personally. So, Carrie, could you do me a favor? If you see that the trash is full, could you just make an effort to take it out more often? I'm going to be like, oh my gosh, I'm so sorry. I have this really high tolerance for garbage. I actually like to push it down like often because it, like, I get a thrill out of how much I can fit into a can. I'll be more aware of your desire. Like, right, there's a totally different response to that kind of an ask. So that's my advice. Asking is a boundary issue for me. If you over ask me, I am like boundary, boundary, boundary. So, so there you go.
Yeah. And in your case, in that really great example, you were talking about how it feels for you. And that's the important part, because then we're giving our partner or whoever we're asking the opportunity to see the truth of us and to make our lives more comfortable in exchange, because they love us, right? They want to. It's an intrinsic thing. It's not because they want to stop us from nagging them anymore, right? Like, it's a totally different dynamic. So yeah,
And we all tell ourselves stories, right?
Mm-hmm.
So like there's a story, let's use the trash, Rachel and I, trash example. I'm the one who wants Rachel to take the trash out all the time, right? I'm telling a story to myself, which is she doesn't care about me. She always sees me taking out the trash. She just lets it get stinky and smelly. She doesn't care about me. She doesn't care about the house. Like, I'm going on and on in my head about all the reasons like Rachel doesn't respect me or whatever. Meanwhile, Rachel's like, I love this game I'm playing with the trash that I only have to take it out once a week, right? Like, she's got a whole different reality. Or she's like, I see Carrie loves me so much. She takes out the trash every day, right? Like, she's got a whole different story in her head. And so if it's a boundary issue for you, talk about the feelings in the ask. It will help a lot.
Definitely. Yeah. I hope that helps, Dale. Glad your phone could hang in there with your battery. So we have a comment from Jana. She said, I recently recognized a situation where I needed to make sure I was in check with my boundaries. If I would have violated them, it would have been hindering to a learning moment for my daughter, and only feeling a need for nurturing for me, feeling a need for nurturing for me. This was a huge awareness. Yeah, I bet Carrie could talk about that because she has kids too.
Yeah, but I mean, it's just so good, right? When you take a moment to pause, right? Which it sounds like is what you did, Jana.
Mm-hmm.
And this recognizing like, oh, at least I think what you're saying is, right? Oftentimes when we continue to do something that we don't want to do, it is also filling some sort of a need, right?
Mm-hmm.
I hate it when you're in a coaching situation or a therapy situation or something like that. And people are like, so what are you getting out of this? And you're like, nothing, man, this is the worst. And then they're like, then how come you keep doing it? Like, obviously you're getting something out of it. And so for you to recognize like, oh, on the one hand, this felt like a boundary busting thing. On the other hand, I was feeling a need to nurture. And recognize like, oh my gosh, you can nurture, I'm imagining, in so many more healthy, joyful, like less boundary busting ways than whatever was going on And you just said you got to like appreciate a moment of like true growth and learning for your daughter, which the best. I want to talk about a weird boundary thing that I have. So I don't clean my kids' rooms until I decide to clean my kids' rooms. I will ask my children to clean their room. I usually say something like, hey, it's getting pretty gross in there. Or like, I noticed an odor. My kids are all teenagers now. Or my son is king of like, he has all the laundry baskets in his room. So I'll say like, hey, need the laundry baskets. And I'll give him like, I need them by this time. Or, hey, if you want to be able to do this thing, make sure that you get your room clean by that time. And I recognize, right? Like they can live in their space however they want to live in it until there's like a point where it's like, hey, we all have to live in this house. So, and generally they love it to have a clean room, right? They just don't want to be the ones to clean it. And sometimes I recognize I'm walking past their room and they don't mind it, but it's driving me crazy. And so I will go in and clean it. And I've received all sorts of flack for this, but I feel like it's not their problem. It's my problem. I'm the one who doesn't like to look at the mess. They're happy to see the mess. So I'm just going to go clean it up because it'll make me feel better to take care of that thing. And so now if they say, don't touch my things, then there's another conversation. And oftentimes that just means I will walk by and close the door so I don't have to look at it. But what I found is they actually love having their room clean. They just don't want to do it. And so it is like such a happy surprise when they come home and realize like, oh, apparently mom hit her limit and my room had to be cleaned. But I'm saying this because I recognize that it's internal for me, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like they have their own boundaries and their own tolerance for filth, and mine just happens to be slightly less. So that's I hope what you guys are receiving is that boundaries are external, internal, behaviors are external, right? Our boundaries inform our behaviors. And I think we often think that boundaries are behaviors or boundaries are stopping other people from behaviors, but they really are like internal structures. They're energetic.
Yeah, it's like it's a part of your physical reality. It's a part of your physical alignment. And the more embodied you are, the easier boundaries will be because you will feel more confident in upholding them. Right? You will feel more confident in saying, "Oh, hey, no, can't drive past there. Can't come in here. That can't come in here." Yeah. Like I have found it's exponentially easier to be me the more alignment work I do, the more meditation, the more daily alignment shows I watch, the more, showing up prepared to be myself, because it's less thinking then. It's automatic, right? Because more of my energy is here with me in the physical. So do that, right? If you're having an issue where you're getting walked on, people are taking advantage of you, it's not a them problem, it's a you problem. And so I know it's terrible too, because we don't think that when we're being so abused, but you absolutely can have and keep your own boundaries and get farther in the world, right? A lot of times I remember working in offices, I remember all kinds of transgressions, right? And thinking if I say something, if I have boundaries, I'll get fired, right? Something bad will happen to me. But it's the opposite that happens. People respect you. People give you less work if you're being overworked. They stop saying the nasty things to you if they're saying nasty things to you, right? Like, because your energy informs people. And so look into that, watch the Daily Alignment Show, which I wanted to tell our members first, but since so many of you are here anyway, we're going to be going to shorts for at least a little while. So the show is going to be in a short format because we're actually going to be, I'll just tell you, this is one of the amazing things that's going to be happening. I'm actually going to be making a documentary, and I need a lot more time to do that. So we're still going to have the daily alignment show. It's still going to be on the channel. It's still going to be up there Monday morning, but it's going to be in a short format. So I'll make sure it gets to you and you see it and we can explain it and all of that. But I don't even remember why I started saying that, but like,
because you wanted people to have daily practices that help.
Yes.
Uphold.
Yes. So join our coaching group and get that from me and carry it into Alien directly, or watch the daily alignment show, do your own meditation, follow along in the daily alignment journal available on Amazon, or do whatever else you want. Do your intuitive art, because it really does make a huge difference.
One thing that helps me, and I didn't recognize it until that you and I started talking, is when I feel like I am not upholding my boundaries, is to just, in a meditation, just take a minute and imagine the scattered pieces of me coming back.
Mm-hmm.
Like all the bits of my energy that I've left all over the place, interactions with other people, whatever, just like imagining them come flying back into my body and like going in the places where they belong. It really helps like solidify the energetic structure that is me, and help, and almost any grounding practice also helps me feel like better in my boundaries. So yeah.
Absolutely. Yes. It's funny you said that, because I just filmed a class with Intimate Alien for a summit that we're participating in. And our topic is about being a trailblazer. And we had that process in that video. So pretty cool.
There you go.
Well, Jana, thank you for being excited about it. I'm excited about it too. Carrie and I are thrilled to be doing new things this year and to be putting more attention on old things as well, which you'll see soon. Thank you for all your support. If you would like to be a channel member and get behind the scenes videos every Saturday, then click on the join link right below this video. You can subscribe. You can like this video if you want to help us out. You can join our coaching group, which is linked below this video as well. And we love you. We love seeing you. Thank you all for being here so much. And we'll see you next week.
Have fun with your boundaries, guys.
Let me see if it'll work.
Oh yeah, let's see if we can make it happen.
It was working
never when you want it to.
On Sky. There we go. Yay!
Look at that.
Bye, everyone.